intensify before it makes landfall. Just because it was on the precipice of becoming a Category 3 storm, it's right there at 110-mile-per-hour winds. Would it in fact increase enough to get to a Category 4? And that's the projection right now. And look, this is a storm that's got nothing in its way. Just really warm waters and no shear to speak of that's going to rip the storm apart. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing. Let's go to the hotline now and bring in Max Defender 8 meteorologist Jeff Idalia with the latest. Jeff, really appreciate the time. And so the headline clearly coming out of this 11 p.m. advisory is that this storm continues to strengthen. I mean, I've been saying it now for over an hour. You just look at the satellite imagery and the radar. This is an impressive looking storm, and we're looking at a potential Category 4 when it makes landfall.
Yeah, we've seen this too many times over the past decade. I mean, before that, you rarely saw a storm intensify up until landfall, let alone rapidly intensify up until landfall. But, over the past 8 years or so, we seem to be getting so many, almost every year we get one storm, sometimes two storms that rapidly intensify as they head toward landfall, and that probably is due to this increase in water temperature across the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, this year, water temperatures are not just above normal, they are far above record territory.
And the track of this storm, especially for those, and we'll get to the Tampa Bay area and what we're experiencing right now, but, we're covering Sarasota, Tampa Bay, and Tallahassee, and there's been a lot of concern in Tallahassee about a potential shift to the west with some of the models and things like that. What are we seeing with the track from this update, and how will that impact the Tallahassee area?
The track is similar in terms of where it's going. And, it was forecast to be a 125-mile-an-hour storm. Now it's 130. So that's the difference between a Cat 3 and a Cat 4. So it's not that much stronger. It's just the category has changed in the prediction. But it's still forecast that Tallahassee is going to be on the very western edge of the core of the storm. So they're going to probably see hurricane force wind gusts and maybe a sustained period, a short sustained period of wind gusts over 75 miles an hour. But in places like Perry and Crop City, and maybe even Lake City, that are going to see those winds surpassing the Cat 2, and in some cases, especially places like Perry, maybe Cat 3 type winds. That means gusts to 130. I just would say the forecast for maximum surge is somewhere around 15 feet. Now, in Ian, that's exactly what we saw, 15 feet of surge. And we all remember what happened with Ian.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it hit a much more populated place, Ian, but still, 15 feet of water is what's likely at the apex of Appalachian Bay.
Now, any difference, we were talking with, it was Rebecca Berry earlier about this, any difference because you've got the Big Bend area and there's really nowhere for the water to go as opposed to the approach that we saw with Ian where it was coming into Fort Myers? I mean, we saw a significant surge like you just mentioned, but how does just the coastline impact the surge that we're going to see?
That is such a great question, and if you really look, get a map out, look at the coastline between Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel Island, you will see it comes to a right angle. And so that's one thing that I've been talking about a lot. I do school visits all the time, and I show the kids how the coastline literally is a right angle right at Fort Myers Beach and Sanibel Island. And so that coastline actually helps to funnel the water in and probably increase the surge by a couple of feet there. We're seeing the general same thing happen at the top of the bay here in the northeast Gulf of Mexico, where all that water is not only funneled into kind of a triangle, but also very shallow water. Very shallow there. So, we are, you take the exact same storm and it makes landfall on the east coast around West Palm Beach, and you get half as much storm surge, if not less than that. So we end up seeing more than 2 times the amount of storm surge on our coast than they do on other coasts because it's so shallow there.
And then final question for you, the Tampa Bay area, we're seeing some of these outer bands come through our region right now. What are we looking at in these overnight hours?
So we've seen gusts to about 50 miles an hour. Those are at the measured site. So you can imagine we don't have measurements everywhere.
Yeah.
You can imagine there's been some gusts probably to 55 miles an hour or so. And it's going to get a little worse through the 2 and 5 a.m. hour, I expect to see some gusts into the 60-mile-an-hour range, and along the immediate coast, on the nature coast, I briefly see a gust or two up to about hurricane force, but the majority of the strongest winds are moving north. So what does this mean? This means scattered power outages. It shouldn't be widespread power outages. These shouldn't be the kind of power outages that last many days. It should be just a few hours or a day. We're going to luck out here in the Tampa Bay area. It's really amazing how Tampa Bay manages to dodge every bullet that comes our way. I'm knocking on wood because I want that to continue, but unfortunately, if we're missing out on the hurricane, someone else is getting it.
All right, Jeff Baradelli, Operation Storm Watch, our Max Defender 8 meteorologist with us. Thanks so much for the update. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And in Cedar Key, which we've talked so much about because that's just going to be an area that will likely get devastated by this storm, these pulsars